I'm John, and tonight I want answers about unrest in the Middle East, and I want to hear my bowling partner play some music. There's no stopping us now, 'cause we're live. Check your calendar. If it says March 10th, 2011, then we're live. You're either watching us live on the internet or you're watching us live on KMVT, Cupertino, Mountain View, Los Altos. My musical guest tonight is Casey Heney. Not only can he play piano, but he's also my bowling partner.
Hi there, John.
Hi there, Casey. Long time no see, which means I saw you earlier today and we bowled.
We bowled well.
And I know tonight's show is going to be great with the music because we had a good bowling day. So we're on the top of the world. We're in good spirits. And because of all the strikes you bowled, you had less balls to throw, so you're now fuller of energy than you otherwise would have been. So that's my partner, Casey, playing the music. We're live on the internet, streaming. So here's the link for next time. If you're watching us live now, you don't need to see it. But if you're watching this on the YouTubes, then this is where you go next time to watch us live. Don't worry, that link will be on our website, so don't have to worry about memorizing it.
Regretfully, because it's very long.
Yeah, it's long, but there it is. Regretfully, my guest tonight is Keith Stattenfield.
Yeah.
He's the host.
You really need more friends. Or friends.
I need more people who can answer current event topics. He's the host of Keith Explains, which is another show on this station, Wednesdays at 8:30. Bet you didn't know that.
I don't ever pay attention.
Keith is my guest tonight because he's a news junkie, history buff, and philosophy major. That will come in handy when we need to talk about the Middle East and all the woes
and stuff.
History. Uh-oh. This could be a problem here. If you haven't seen our show before,
And
it's like
you haven't.
You haven't. It's like a courtroom drama.
It's not a courtroom drama.
I'm the prosecutor. My guest is the expert witness. And you at home are the jury. And it's your civic duty to vote to either convict or acquit the topics. We'll be taking your tweets. You can tweet us during the show at @JohnWantsAnswer. There's no S because the S is for suck.
The second S is
The
for
second
suck.
S is for suck. The first S is for super. So we'll read your questions and try and answer them. You can give us feedback about how great the show is, and questions about our topic, and questions about the show. While you're on the internet, go to our website at johnwantsanswers.com. There there's a link to our shows. You can see bios of the guests, and there's funny pictures of us. And there's links to our Facebook page, so you can become our friend. No, you can
like us.
You can like us. You can like us on the Facebook.
Let's not talk about friends. I mean, that's really too far.
Indeed. One of the tweets we had last month, was, where can I get a John Wants Answer t-shirt or sweatshirt or mug?
Was that really a tweet?
That's really a tweet.
Was that you?
It was not me.
Did you pay someone?
I did not. It came in on its own. I was unexpected. So we now have stuff you can get from our website.
Merchandise.
This card was added to my pile regarding Keith and how good looking he is. I need to skip that.
You just read it.
Not the whole thing.
Oh, that's true.
Scott Canaster, our most favorite viewer, told us this might be the best TV show I have ever seen. He might be watching tonight.
He is. He's tweeted.
He's tweeted.
Yeah, he asks, why is there a giant raccoon? So, Scott is apparently not up.
Scott is clearly watching us live.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or Scott is drinking heavily. Or
maybe he's
both.
seeing things. Okay, it's time for us to get started. Now that we're 5 minutes into the show. Our first topic is unrest in the Middle East. right. That's
It's very Aladdin-esque.
What was that, like a Middle Eastern song?
Riff.
Yeah, kind of a Arabian feel to it.
Arabian feel to it.
Yeah, it was actually a friend of mine, Anna, helped me out with that. So
Well,
you have her to thank.
Kudos to Anna, wherever you may be.
She's not watching.
She might be.
I
She
doubt
threatened earlier.
Wow.
Hey,
Anna's not as smart as we thought.
the barista at work today said she'd be watching the show. So I'm going to quiz her tomorrow when I see her on the show, see if they did or not. So we've got lots of viewers. So, unrest in the Middle East. So, Keith, the Middle East has been in the news a lot recently. Now, it's always in the news.
Yeah, almost always.
But even more so now because people are not going to take it anymore. And there's been protests.
More than protests.
Yes. How many protests has there been?
7,000.
Okay, that's probably protests. How many countries have there been protests in?
11.
Okay. You're just
Ish.
making that up.
I don't know, maybe 11?
I
I mean, what do you call a protest? I'm kind of cheesed off. Do I count?
Does Wisconsin count?
Yeah, Wisconsin counts. I mean, not Canada. No one in Canada protests anything.
It's too cold outside.
Yeah.
Wait till it's, May or June for protests. Okay, so let's bring up the map and let's look at the Middle East. Okay. So,
I want to first point out that most of that map is not the Middle East.
This is
Most of that map is Africa.
North Africa and the Middle East. This is where the protests are
And part of Europe.
happening. Oh, and the map we see part of Europe. But the colored countries is where we had reports of protests.
And Wisconsin.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about North Africa and Middle East tonight.
Okay.
Maybe next month we'll get back to Wisconsin. Protesting. So the big protest started where? Where's the big country, the first country to have a big protest?
Yeah, probably Tunisia.
Tunisia.
The first biggie.
That started around December?
Like mid-December. They started having unrest.
Unrest. So Tunisia, let's point that out right now.
It's a tiny little one. It's
right. I'm kind of pointing to it right there.
Yeah, it's kind of like right there.
Right there.
Look, our fingers are touching.
Okay.
Let's not do that again.
So that's not a very big country. It looks pretty small.
No, it's very tiny.
Like the size of Rhode Island? Or is it like
it's bigger than Rhode Island?
Size of Oregon?
It's smaller than Oregon.
Smaller than Oregon. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to claim it's roughly the size of Tunisia.
Okay.
Maybe
So-
4 Luxembourgs.
Let's take the map away. Let's take the map away now.
We can just do the whole show this way. Why is there a raccoon on TV, John?
Raccoon? Oh, that's our otter.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, on TV it looks different.
A slim raccoon.
That's true, yeah.
Is it
The
on?
TV ads,
TV ads,
15
yeah.
pounds. And
Okay, Tunisia.
otter plus 15 pounds equals raccoon.
What started all the problems in Tunisia?
Well, Tunisia had been ruled by the same guy, fairly authoritarian for, 25 or 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he and his family were fairly corrupt. And the Tunisian populace was not doing terribly well. And that eventually led to people being unhappy about their government.
Right.
It's hard to say what set it off. There was a guy in mid-December who had been treated very badly by the government and then went to a public square and set himself on fire and died. And apparently that's the kind of thing that can really rally people around you.
Right.
And that set off a bunch of protests of people saying that what the government is doing is terrible.
I heard
And they
WikiLeaks
kind of
had something to do with it too, right?
They also think, it's hard to say. WikiLeaks also, back in, I think, October and November was releasing a bunch of diplomatic cables from the U.S. And in the U.S., we didn't pay a lot of attention to them, but the Tunisian people noticed that the U.S. diplomats in Tunisia were cabling about how extravagant the ruling family and the other people that were kind of part of the government were living lives compared to the populace. The son of the ousted president, was having very lavish parties with tigers
So
and
the government's
alcohol
spending all this money, and the people are suffering.
And the people are suffering, and it's also thought that had that people saw that and they thought, well, this is terrible, and there was something that people rallied around. This guy set himself on fire. Protests started. They were kind of small, and then they quickly got big. And once people saw that there were other people that were willing to go out and protest, they were willing to go out, because no one wants to be the first guy out there with a sign, because you just end up in the bottom floor of the prison.
If you're lucky.
But when there are 1,000 people with signs, it's hard to put 1,000 people in prison. And
right. What was the net result of all this protest?
Well, I think in early to mid-January, the president actually fled the country, and the government was essentially dissolved.
So it was a dictatorship at this point?
Technically, it was a constitutional democracy, but in practice, it was very authoritarian.
Did they suppress
They had elections, but the elections were rigged, or the elections were set up such that no one would vote for anyone other than the authority, than the people that were in power.
So that guy got 95%.
I think he got 80+% of the vote every time he ran.
Right. Even though he was doing
even though people
job.
by and large were unhappy with him.
Right.
They just didn't see any point to voting for anyone else.
So if he got ousted,
fled the country.
For the country, so
Saudi Arabia.
How are they going to pick a new leader?
I think they promised that they're going to have new elections sometime late spring to early summer.
And we're hoping they're not going to be as corrupt.
And we're hoping that those elections will not be as corrupt. There were opposition political parties, and the hope is that they will be able to, actually have a reasonably responsive and uncorrupt government.
Did America have good relations with Tunisia?
America had okay relations with Tunisia. Tunisia was often acting kind of like a middleman between the Western countries, and in particular the situation with the Palestinians. They had kind of brokered some talks and peace deals. So Tunisia didn't have a terrible reputation with the West. They weren't. The government wasn't really. They weren't anti-Western.
Right. Do you think relations will be better with the new people in power, or it's hard to say?
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. So after Tunisia happened, the next big country, I suppose, to have
Egypt.
Egypt.
There were. Jordan. The king in Jordan fired the prime minister and a bunch of other ministers in the government. I think.
Now in Jordan, does the king is the supreme leader in Jordan, and then
I think it's kind of parliamentarian the way England is.
Can the
but
queen
the king,
at any time
I think the queen can call new elections, and she can ask for the. I guess perhaps Jordan the king has more power, because I don't think the queen can get rid of the government in Great Britain.
So Jordan had some issues.
So they made a large part of the government step down.
What was the problem in Jordan? The issues, same kind of issues. You think?
I think it's the same kind of issues.
So then you had Egypt. At some
Egypt
point.
was Egypt, another very authoritarian country. Mubarak had been ruling it for 30-ish years.
So he came into power after the last guy was assassinated in 1981.
Yes.
Anwar el-Sadat.
Yes.
So he's been there.
And a grandstand by a guy in the army firing a rocket at him.
Yeah. So there was
It was bad.
Pretty bad. I was a little boy back then, so I didn't pay attention. I understand that Egypt has been in a state of emergency since 1981.
Once you're in a good state of emergency, there's no reason to leave.
So that's why the new guy, Mubarak, has been able to be a dictator for that long, because it suppressed elections, or it suppressed the ability to congregate.
They banned opposition political parties, and they, again, ran the government. Largely the single ruling party, which was essentially headed by Mubarak, and more recently his children were, in occupying high positions in government.